All righty. Welcome back to the Green Line Gazette. This is episode 26. Not the episode we want to be having here today. Joined by Jack Cavanaugh, of course, our World Cup expert who's been with us for most of our World Cup episodes. Right, I was just telling you before this, pretty raw episode. Right? We don't have anything really written up. We're just going to kind of call it how it is. And where do you even want to start? Where do you want to start?
I guess if you want to start, I feel like there's enough to be said about all 11 players who started that game. If you want to start,
I know.
just kind of...
It's ridiculous. I guess we could start with perhaps the most unfortunate one with Matt Freese, who had an excellent tournament. I mean, excellent for a guy as young as he was, to really start in his first big games this World Cup and get that shutout against Australia, only allow one versus Paraguay. He had played excellent, and then just the disaster that was that third goal, which was what ended the game, in my opinion.
When you're I don't know, a 2-1 scenario, the U.S. went into that second half, and it looked like they were going to make something happen because it was terrible. We were very lucky to only be a goal behind going into the end of the first half, going into the locker room. But we came out. It looked a little bit better. It still didn't look good, but it looked a little bit better. And then I don't even know what minute it was, but whenever it was, out of nowhere, it seemed, ball comes to Matt Freese, and it's just like, what is he doing? I have no idea. I've watched that play like 6 times over. I still don't understand.
And we both said it in the when we did the 26-man roster breakdown, which is like our first World Cup, me and you did. We said we like Freese. He's a pretty raw shot stopper, but he struggles with the ball at his feet, and we didn't really see that like all tournament until literally the most important moment of the entire tournament, and he really. I don't even want to say he reverts back to what we thought, because credit to him, he had proved a lot of people wrong and played really well. But it was brutal. And to your point, right, we're in a 2-1 game where, like I said, this is I think a horrible Belgium team that is somehow only up 2-1 against a U.S. team that looks like it's their first time playing soccer. And we are trailing 2-1. And I know I was with you during the game when we were talking about it. We could hardly string a pass together, but we kept having these like really random, like very high percentage looks on offense. Like, I remember that Balogun one, which we're going to get into him later, because that was just horrendous. You had a lot of very good chances that you were like, wait a minute, despite the fact that our midfield can't retain the ball, we're somehow an inch away from this being a tie game. And then, that little bit of hope, that little bit of momentum you have, Matt Freese comes in, kicks the ground, turns it over. Tim Ream, what do you think? It's like, I see a lot of people saying, hey, that's Ream's fault. Like, he's got to get the ball. But at the same time, he's running with back to goal, like turning around. It's kind of hard, but like everything about that sequence was just painful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that as much as like it's easy to blame Tim Ream because he's old and he's been catching flack for a while now, I think that like there's only one person to blame, and it's Matt Freese. I think that I don't know, like you can watch the play. He literally just like kicks the ground for no reason. He has 3-4 touches to get the ball anywhere that's not nowhere, and it sits there, and he doesn't even touch the ball. And then there's a little bit of an unfortunate bounce. I think it just bounces off a Belgian player straight into the path of another one. And Tim Ream, like, I don't know, like he sets his hips weird and he's like going the wrong way, but at the same time, you can't blame him. He's not expecting the ball to just like appear. He's doing the right thing. He's covering the goal because our goalkeeper's out, but it's more of just it's just what you do. You're not expecting the ball to actually like end up going past you. Sure, he could be a little bit better, stick his foot out, but he's tired. He's been playing for 60 minutes at this point. Like, I don't blame Tim Ream, as bad as I think he played. And again, we'll get into this. The rest of the game, I think he was just atrocious. But I don't know. I don't specifically blame him for that goal.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have to agree. A lot of people were, like you said, he's in an unnatural position, not expecting a shot on goal because his goalkeeper, lost his brain. Right? I mean, it's kind of funny. Like, the guy that went to Harvard ended up making the dumbest mistake that ended our World Cup hopes.
Yeah.
And that's not to say, like, let's just get into that now. Like, Tim Ream, you're not off the hook. The first two goals are directly his fault. I mean, yeah. You could debate what happened. That first goal, somehow was topped. You really couldn't think there'd be a worse goal to let in than that first opening goal until obviously what happened with the third goal. You could debate what the first goal was. That Ream's fault? Was it Richards, or I can't remember if it was Richards or
Dest.
Freeman? Was it Dest that he was
too.
with? Right. Like,
there were 4 guys standing around that ball. It looked like a high school soccer game. It looked like I was watching like old footage for a second. The ball is in the air for like 4 seconds, hits the ground in the 18, which, like, again, I'm sure your high school coach would be screaming his head off, like, ball can't bounce in the 18. That's like, you learned that in 4th grade.
That's rule number 1.
Ball is bouncing in the 18, completely uncontested, with 4 U.S. guys standing around it. And then like a little bit of just like bounces go wherever they want to go, and then all of a sudden it's in the back of your net and you're down 1-0. What, 4 minutes into the game?
I mean, I remember because I was going to the grocery store, so I'm late to the bar. I walk in. I think it's like, we could check this. I think it's like the 9th. It's either the 9th or the 12th minute. And I walk into the bar and I walk over. It was the 9th minute. That's right. Because I walked in and I'm like, hey, what's up, guys? And I look up at the TV and it's just unfolding before my eyes, like the worst sequence, or I guess the second worst sequence, somehow unfolding when I walk in, and I just go silent. And I could not believe my eyes. It was, I mean,
yeah, it's pretty terrible.
I mean,
it's just like so bad.
And then it's like, right, we get absolutely blessed with the Tillman free kick with the deflection off the center back's head. And who cares? Like, you take your goals where you get them. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, we're all going nuts. The ball's in play for 61 seconds, and then Tim Ream just gets dunked on by the same dude. And I'm forgetting his name.
De Ketelaere.
Right now. De Ketelaere. Charles De Ketelaere, who on camera, I mean, looked like he might have been 5'7" or something. Like, it was, and he just goes right up over Tim Ream. Okay, well, that's horrible ball knowledge. Google is telling me he's 6'4". Anyway, my point still stands that Tim Ream got absolutely dunked on, and you got to be better, like, with your aerial duels. And I mean, if you want to talk about what, again, somehow it wasn't the worst momentum killer outside of that third goal, but to finally grab that free kick goal, and you're finally in this game and you believe your home crowd's going, and then 61 seconds later you just look like absolute fools, it's beyond me.
Remind me how that second goal, how that started, because obviously it ended with a cross into the box from the left flank and then just straight over Ream's head. But was it Freeman or Dest who got beat for that to even start to begin with?
I think it was Dest, but it also like not came, but like kind of indirectly came off a Pulisic turnover where he turned it over in the midfield. And this is also worth mentioning. So Pulisic had 11 turnovers in the first 45 minutes. His first 5 touches on the ball were all turnovers. Right. Yeah. We're going to get to that in a second. It was off a Pulisic like turnover, and it kind of bounced around. And then I think it was Dest who got beat. And then Tim Ream just gets absolutely dunked on. And mind you, again, 61 seconds after, we were just gifted an absolute, blessing of a goal. Yeah. And that's how we followed up. And it, that really should have been like a foretelling sign of what was to come, to be quite honest.
Yeah, completely. It was just like, I know you in the moment you said like, that's a foul. It could have been, but like, that's really soft if that gets called as a foul. And Tim Ream is just like, I don't know what he's doing. He gets like an inch off the ground. I'm not quite sure. Like in the moment, I was like, you're right, that is a foul, because like there's no way Tim Ream is that bad and like can't get more than an inch off the ground without somebody like physically holding him down. You see the replay, he just doesn't get off the ground. I don't know what he's doing. It's like embarrassing.
And you really could argue there, like you said, like I'm standing next to him, like I'm pretty sure that's a foul. He's got two hands on his back, but at the end of the day, like you need to play the game. You cannot be waiting for the referee to blow his whistle. If you feel two hands on your back and the ball coming, you better make the best effort you can. And then if something happens, you know what, maybe it gets called, but then if not, you end up in the situation we did, and he just gets absolutely dunked on.
What's ironic is if he actually makes an effort to play the ball and there's two hands on his back, then that's when the ref blows his whistle, because it's very clear that you got interfered with. If you're just going to sit on the ground and watch the ball go over your head, the ref can't help you out there. That's on you. So
yeah, I mean, and then it was just disaster, right? So the foot mob scores, right? Like some of the notable ones. Freeze had a 4-5. Ream has a 4-5. McKinney and Dest have 4-5s. Pulisic has a 5-4. Like he does not deserve that. What really cracks me up? Sure. Yeah. What really cracks me up is if you search up like the ESPN article about the game, or one of them by Ryan Clark, he rates all of the players 1 to 10, and it goes 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 3, 3. Tillman got a 5, which I don't even agree with, and so did Balogun. And Pulisic got a 2. Balogun also did not deserve a 5. That is absurd that you had not one player playing at least average. And I agree with those rankings. I think that's entirely accurate.
Yeah, it's absurd. I'm looking at the same like rankings right now. I think I agree. Honestly, like we can do a deep dive into Pulisic right now, because that was one of the most, from your star player in the biggest game that you guys have played in decades. I think that is nothing short of an embarrassment from Christian Pulisic. He played, and it wasn't even, I think at some point I turned to you and I was like, he's not like recovering on defense. One of the things that made this team so special in the first 4 games of this World Cup is how much they played like a unit. Like Balogun was coming back, Tillman was coming back, Pulisic was coming back. Like they were stronger defensively, or just as strong defensively as they were going forward. And that's what makes, a 3-back formation so dangerous, is that like you can get numbers behind the ball and then you can break forward. But Pulisic started playing like Messi. He was like walking around the field. He was walking back like standing 20 yards out of position, and it was obvious because Dest is not very good defensively to begin with, and he was just getting exposed time after time because just no help coming from Pulisic.
And I know we're supposed to be talking about Pulisic, and I will do that in one moment. You just reminded me of, right, you're talking about this team playing as a cohesive unit, especially defensively, especially with their forwards. And what really just got me just beyond riled up was, I don't know if you remember that set piece, kind of like, probably like 35 out, and it was like an in-swinging cross, and Raskin, the Belgium like center forward, who was Balogun's man, right? He was the first man on the post. Balogun just stopped running and watched the ball come in, and Raskin somehow misses the goal by perhaps an inch. And this is when we're still down 2-1, and Balogun just, for whatever reason, just completely gave up on Raskin before the ball even came in. And it was bewildering to watch.
Yeah. And I think there was another guy up. It was like 2 Belgium guys and Chris Richards were the only ones who made an effort to like get behind the ball, which was just absurd. And I'm so confused when and where this mentality shift happened, because this is not the US that we saw in those first 4 games of this World Cup. Just nowhere close. Because like I genuinely, I don't know what happened in the locker room. Obviously, there's the controversies that you talked about in your last episode, and the Balogun. Like I'm sure we'll get into a little bit of that. But I don't know. Like it just looked really bad. It looked really bad.
Yeah, and so getting to Pulisic, right? 59 minutes on the pitch, lost possession 14 times. It seemed like every time he got the ball, that's what happened. It was absolutely shocking. It is, I mean, right, you are Captain America. You can't do this in the biggest game the United States have played in God knows how long. And rightfully so, he is getting a lot of heat, right? Even Carly Lloyd, right, U.S. women's national team legend, called him out and said the exact same thing. Like, why are you coming off? Why are you coming off the pitch? Are you really that hurt, or are you just playing that bad? And you got the get out of free jail card with, when he got tripped up outside of the box and what really could have been a good free kick chance. And did he see that as his ticket out of the game? Is that what Poch saw? Like, if you're Poch, you might, and I don't blame Poch, right? Like, get him off the field if that's how he's going to play. And if you need an excuse to do it, there you go, you got it. But just disgusting, absolutely disgusting.
And if there ever is a player and there ever is a moment that you need, like, I don't care if the other 10 players on that pitch are playing like shit. 10 players at least on this field were playing like shit. But if 10 guys are playing like shit and you're Christian Pulisic, like, you have got to set a tone that is different than what everyone else is setting. You have got to beat a man where nobody expects you to beat that man. You've got to create a chance where nobody expects you to create that chance. You've got to do something in the 59 or whatever minutes he was on the field to prove that he is the guy that we've been hyping him up to be since was like 18 years old. And we saw absolutely nothing. 14 turnovers I'm sure there's guys on our team who didn't even touch the ball 14 times, and you're going to give it away 14 times. That's unbelievable. Like, that's a ridiculous statistic. I don't know. Like, I can't express my disappointment in Pulisic any more than that. I think, like, if there was ever a time for him to do anything, to play anything like he played the first 4 games, or anything like we believe him to be the player that he is, and we saw absolutely none of that.
And it's also really worth mentioning as well, this dude is made of glass. He essentially took off the whole season at AC Milan to rest up for this World Cup because he had been hurt. And and I will give him his flowers. He was phenomenal 2 years ago for AC Milan. He had, I think, 58 goal involvements, which was the most in Serie A behind Lautaro Martinez. So he was world class 2 years ago, and he takes the season off, and he caught a lot of heat for that, and rightfully so, to rest up for this World Cup, and then to barely play. And then when he's on, like, outside of that Paraguay game, he was awful. And it's shocking because I think he was class in the Paraguay game. He had that, it's mind boggling what happened. And if the injury really was that serious, then again, it raises questions. Is this like our Joel Embiid of the men's national team? Like, you can win MVPs and you can be really good, but if the best ability is availability. And if you're never going to play, and if every time you play you're hurt, who cares? Like, I don't care how good you are for your club. It's horrible.
Yeah. Pulisic in his last 2 years with the U.S., 2025 and 2026, I'm just reading these off right now. He's played 12 games. Which is way less than the number of games we've actually played. That's got to be half as many games as the U.S. have played. He's got 1 goal and he has 3 assists with looks like a Foot Mob average match rating over these 2 years combined of 6.7. Just like kind of embarrassing numbers for the guy that's been the face of this team for so long.
And it's also worth mentioning too, like, and I guess we should have started with this. I love this team. Like, there's a lot of great guys who, like, represent us, and and we have come so far from where we were. But I think that's why this hurts so much more than again, like, this is probably the most upset I've been since the 2017 Trinidad game. And again, right, that's because there are real expectations that surround this team now, right? You have players who are world class. You have Jedi Robinson, who's one of the best fullbacks in the Premier League. And for it to end like this, and, like, again, like, still super proud to be a U.S. fan, and we've come miles from where we were, but this is just, I think, like a spit in the face to everybody. Like, because you have played so well and you have given your nation so much hope, and then to put that product onto the field in the most important game since I don't know when is this is the most important game since like the
We
I don't
played the
even count the
Netherlands
Netherlands game.
yeah,
Like we
exactly.
knew we were gonna lose. Like we knew we weren't a serious team in 2022.
Yeah.
I can't think of how excited and nervous I'd been for a US game that I had real expectations for, and then it is just the shittiest, most horrible product of football you might have ever watched in your life. And I don't even think that's an understatement, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was terrible. And like you're saying, this one stings so much because there was so much expectation and there was so much like belief in this team that like this could have been something. Home soil, like people have been talking about the 2026 World Cup probably since 2018 when we had the whole Trinidad fiasco, like, oh, we got the World Cup here in 8 years. Like we really got to turn this thing around. And we kind of did. Some of these players on this team, like we couldn't have dreamed of having a striker as quality as Balogun. We couldn't have dreamed that a guy like Tim Ream would be able to have kind of the turnaround that he did and be so influential in 2022 and then still be able to play in 2026. I think that like Pulisic, McKennie, Adams, the three guys who were kind of like coming up in the world in 2018 were like, we kind of got everything that we could have wanted out of their careers till now. They're all 27 years old and like they've had very successful careers. One's in the Prem, two are in Serie A, one's in Italy, one's in two are in Italy, but like they've had successful careers like up to now. They're everything that we could have wanted them to have been in 2018. And here we are, the whole world's watching. We're on home soil and like that's the product we're going to put on the field. I think that like I don't know, like pressure is a privilege, and these guys had the privilege of having so many people watch them and so many people's hopes so high, and they completely threw it in the garbage, as we're used to, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, well said, like absolutely. And just to your point about right, pressure is a privilege and how far we've come. I'm gonna read you the October 10th, 2017 lineup when we lost 2-1 to Trinidad. Right, you still have Tim Howard, who is well past his prime. You then have, again, DeAndre Yedlin, well past his prime. I haven't heard these two guys' names forever. You have Omar Gonzalez and Matt Bessler. Yeah, Jorge Villafana, Paul Areola. You have Michael Bradley, who should have retired. You have Darlington Nagbe. You have a very young Christian Pulisic, right, against your point that he's been supposed to have been our guy for it's almost 10 years now. You have a Jose Altidore, and then oh my God, you have Bobby Wood, who was playing your striker, right? And we laugh about it now because that lineup just sounds absolutely ridiculous compared to what we were given this World Cup. But right, that's just what makes it sting that much more because I now feel almost the same way I felt when I was I was like in 7th grade, right, when we missed that World Cup. Yep. And I remember how that felt, and I almost feel the exact same way I do right now, but almost worse because, right, you should never miss a World Cup playing in CONCACAF because it's the CONCACAF, region of the world. But I mean, I just really, and again, right, you guys go listen to any of my pods from this World Cup. Like I believed a lot in this team, right? We were a little over ambitious on the bracket when we had them in the quarterfinal to France, right?
But like that was the level.
It was, and I really thought we could have done it, right? Because
those
like
first four performances, like that's the level. This is a winnable game if you play the way that you did going into the Paraguay game.
Yeah, and Spain has been very unconvincing, right? And it just takes one, right? I mean, whatever, it doesn't matter, right? It's not worth mentioning now. What is worth mentioning, all right, to lighten the mood, is the bracket me and you did, outside of my ridiculous picks, like where I picked Austria, we have basically a very close to perfect bracket. I think you picked Brazil, which is correct. So that means your entire top right of that bracket was right.
Yeah,
I don't think either of us said
Norway. Yeah, we had Norway going through as well.
Yeah, we had Norway playing England, and we had them through. We we talked about the Paraguay game being very close. I don't think we said they would beat them.
Yeah.
And then I guess the Argentina bracket was like, who really cares, to be honest. Good for Switzerland, but they end of the road for them probably. But again, sorry to tangent, but back to what we were talking about. I mean, just horrible performances all around. Like Jedi Robinson, you're not off the hook. He looked like a deer in headlights. I was astonished to see the level he was playing at. It reminds me of the first 20 minutes of the Paraguay game where he looked incredibly shaky and nervous, which I don't get, man. Like, you play in the Premier League, you play for Fulham, you play big teams, you play big games. You were a part of that stoppage time winner against Liverpool. Like, you have been in big moments before. Why is playing an underwhelming Belgium team, in my opinion, in a round of 16 game? Why are the lights too bright? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. On Jedi specifically, I think like the first oh crap moment that I had this game was maybe 20-30 seconds into the game when I don't know who it was, maybe it was Trossard, whoever was like wide right for Belgium, got the ball and was like going at Jedi down that right flank towards him. And the way that he defended, I can't even describe it, but he looked so awkward. It looked like somebody who was like trying to imitate, it looked like a basketball player playing soccer for the first time. The athleticism was there, like the stance was there, but like the fundamentals just did not exist. I think he went in to like swipe at the ball, completely missed, almost fell over, and Trossard got past him. He recovered, then like stumbled again. I think Trossard might have even gotten past him again and then like passed the ball to someone else. But I was like, what is going on right here? This is some of the worst defending I've seen from arguably our best defender. I think we talked about him being one of the most important players on this team in general, definitely one of our best defenders. And like, I was so confused because then it didn't get better from there. Everyone started to be slipping, stumbling. Every pass didn't connect. Every header was going out of bounds or in the wrong direction. Like every single fundamental piece of soccer that needed to be played was just completely non-existent for every bit of those 90 minutes. And it was, I don't know, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get to the passing in a second. It's like ridiculous we have this much to talk about, but maybe the only thing I can think of is like, is it because they unexpectedly benched Doku and like De Bruyne, right? Like, were you mentally prepping for that, and all of a sudden you get a guy who's probably not even close to Doku and like technical skill, and is it like a change up in baseball where it's just throwing you off that much? Like that's the only thing I can think of. And even that is just the dumbest reason of all time. Like it is no excuse. And that's just what made this even more painful. They didn't start Doku. They didn't start De Bruyne. They didn't start Lukaku. Like, again, right, De Bruyne and Lukaku, sure, I get they're kind of on the backsliding half of their career, but they're still, I think, just very good players, right? And, I mean, obviously, Lukaku scored that fourth goal with a very clinical finish. But for Belgium not to start those three and for the U.S. to just not take advantage of that was mind-boggling to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it was unreal. Yeah, and I have no idea what the reasoning for not starting Doku was. I'm sure, like, you would think that Freeman would see the lineups and see that he doesn't have to defend against Doku for 90 minutes, and that would be a little bit of confidence. But completely to, the other side of that, he was just another same old story with everyone else, but he looked horrible. He looked like couldn't connect a pass. Couldn't even, every touch was awkward. Every pass was going the wrong direction. Every header was just not where he wanted it to go. It was just like bad all around. And you'd think that he'd get a little bit of confidence, but it just, I guess, the opposite effect.
Yeah. And then I guess we can get to Tillman, Balogun. Just, they had played so well and they were unrecognizable out there, right? We talked about it earlier in the episode. I'm going to forget the minute mark because there's so much garbage that happened in that game, but Balogun gets played through on a beautiful ball from one of our midfielders. Again, we are down 2-1 at this point. It's a very real game. He has perhaps 5 yards on his defender. All he has to do is cut it inside, and because obviously, this is literally soccer for dummies. You cut it inside. The Belgium, defender tracking back either makes a really risky tackle, which probably ends up in a card and a penalty, or you have a very high percentage chance on goal. And instead of cutting inside, he takes a touch directly towards the touch line. giving himself zero angle and then hits it with his weak foot. And it was right at Courtois. And of course it was a good save, but all Courtois really did was just throw his body. Like that's all he had to do. There was no angle. Like just get your body in front of the ball and he's going to save. And that's what he did. And that moment was just like, that was really just the cherry on top. And then of course, Tillman just couldn't hang on to the ball to save his life. Like, I mean, our entire midfield, seemed like lost puppies out there, to be honest.
Yeah.
I will say the only person I was remotely impressed with was Berhalter. He was the only guy that showed any real fight. Maybe because he's like reprimanding for his dad's like sins that he brought upon us, and he feels like he owes it to us. And I couldn't care less why he fights so hard. It's the only thing that matters is that he did. So like good for Berhalter, but why is your second choice midfielder the guy that's giving you the most effort on the pitch in a round of 16 game in front of your home crowd? I'm going to overuse the word. It's mind boggling. Like, I don't care. Like, why is your second choice midfielder the only guy who looks like he wants to be out there?
And why is that not Pulisic or McKennie or Adams? One of those guys who have, in their time here, they've been here for up to 10 years. They've been, a part of this program longer than anyone else has. They've worn the armband at different periods of time. I know Ream wore the armband this World Cup, but all three of them have had their share of time as the captain. I'm so confused why it wasn't one of those three who made a statement, even if it's just a challenge or, like a great pass that finds, it connects with whoever it's going towards, like anything to show that, like, you've got a little bit of fight. Maybe after the play, get into someone a little bit, like do something to show me that you actually care that you're here and that you actually care that this is a World Cup on home soil that you're never going to get again for the rest of your career. And I saw absolutely none of that, to your point, from anyone except for our third choice midfielder who we were debating, should he even be on this roster at all?
Yeah, great. Yeah, you're right. I don't think I was correct to call him our second choice, because that'd probably be like Reyna or something. He probably is right, our third choice midfielder. Just no reason that he should ever be the guy. And again, good for him. Like, props to him that he's really the only one who looked like he really cared out there. But yeah, I mean, that's all I got, dude. Just like absolute disaster. It could not have gone worse. I've been saying, like, I don't think the U.S. This was our chance to really prove to the world that we are now like a serious soccer or football nation on the world stage. And everybody was right. Now we're just the laughing stock again. And I'm really convinced this is just always going to be it. I really don't want to believe that, because I followed this team my whole life, and it's not a good way to think. But at this rate, it really just seems like we're gonna beat up on some okay teams in a group stage, get talked up by the media, and then we play a real European team or a South American team or a strong side, whatever, and just get absolutely embarrassed. And it just feels like a repetitive cycle of we're never going to be, we're always going to be a joke of the world in terms of football. So,
yeah. It's ridiculous. I will say, I agree with you in the fact that I just didn't see that he seemed to care enough. And a lot of time he's a very nonchalant player, but Malik Tillman, I think, he's a quality player. Like, he's got foot skills that I haven't seen a U.S. player with in a long time. I think he technically might even be better than Pulisic. I think he might be our most technical, skilled player. I didn't see a whole lot of passion from him this game. I didn't see, like, it didn't seem like he cared too much. And yet he did more with the ball at his feet than anyone else. He scored that free kick. Obviously, it's a deflection. Good for him. He's had a great World Cup up to now. And, like, there was a play, I don't know if you remember it. Maybe it was early second half, or no, it was late first half, where he got around one guy, nutmegged the other, ended up getting fouled. But, like, that was a little bit of something. And that was a little bit of something that I saw. That was like the most of something that I saw in this game out of anyone until Sebastian Berhalter got on the field, which, whoever would have thought I would be saying that. But I don't know. Like I really do think that Malik Tillman is a really special player. I wish that he could have been surrounded by more help because a player of his skill, he's more of a provider. He finds the guys like Balogun and sets them up in positions to succeed. So he can't take on a whole team by himself. But going into the next cycle as we head into the next World Cup, I think he is a guy to, as poorly as he may have played in this specific game, I think he's a guy to keep your eyes on because he's the type of guy that I want to see in our midfield going forward. As unfortunate of a game as this was, I think he is a special player.
Yeah. Right. He was horrible this game, but the dude's only 23, maybe 24, right? Playing for a top German side. You definitely haven't seen the last of him. And you really haven't seen the last of a lot of these players, to be honest, which, I think, is probably a good thing to be. We said just how poor this was and how the lights were too bright, but you still have just world-class players, I think, on this team. You have Chris Richards, who is phenomenal. Adams, Tillman, Anthony Robinson, Balogun, just absolutely elevated. I maybe you say Pulisic, it's just such a gray area. Like, I don't know what to do with this guy anymore. McKinney and Dest will always be good in my mind, but so I think a lot of this roster will be back in 4 years, hopefully, right? Knock on wood, especially like your Tillmans and your Adams and your Chris Richards. Hopefully Balogun's still doing his thing. Maybe Freeze kind of gets a bigger European move at some point. But I guess we'll end with this question that I've been thinking about. So, everybody remembers the Alexi Lalas rant in 2017 on Fox, right, where he calls everyone like the soft tattooed millionaires who have been given everything and they've thrown it away. Do you think that rings even more true now in 2026 than it did in 2018?
Yeah, I think that there is a very strong argument to be made that that's completely true. History repeating itself, because you look at these guys and we talked about how pressure is a privilege and like how they worked so hard to earn the right to be on this stage. They did. You didn't have to qualify for this World Cup, obviously, but they got here. They won 3 of their first 4 games, the 4th one being where they rested, all their guys against Turkey. They brought themselves here. They did what they needed to do. And the expectations were so high just for these guys to just completely crumble and show us that like they never really even had it to begin with. I think, we were handed this qualification because the World Cup is here. We were able to secure an easy group stage because the World Cup was here. These guys come from the best leagues in the world. They come from, all over, and then they come together, and it's like, were my eyes deceiving me against Paraguay or again, in other games, or was this just like, did they really just implode like this? And I think like serious questions need to be asked, like you're saying about like, I don't know, like what is the identity of this team and who are we going forward? Because is this just another instance of a 2018 type of team where it's just like the names on paper are all great, but I don't know, are the players just really not up for it?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. And I think I will add too, right? You said easy group stage. It's kind of easy for all teams now, right? With this expansion, which just places that much more emphasis on the knockout rounds, in my opinion. Yeah. I still stand by what I said. I think the round of 32 is just another glorified group stage game, right? You top your mostly easy group, you probably get a pretty easy round like Bosnia, to be honest, right? Like that game, it really, which is why, again, this hurts so much because it feels like we accomplished something, right? We set a lot of records, a lot of history topping the group. I get it, but it just feels like we accomplished nothing. Like you beat up on a Bosnia team and you beat up on a Paraguay team who turned out to be pretty good, but maybe you caught them in the first game, whatever. Yeah. You beat up on an Australia team that doesn't touch the ball and doesn't want the ball, and you're lucky enough to rest versus Turkey. So who really cares what happens there? But the first game that you're like, wow, it's our time to do something. It's just, what happened and what unfolded is just very unfortunate. So as for Alexi Lalas, was he right? Was he not? Um, I don't know. Like, you'd like to think a lot of these guys are going to be back in 4 years, and some of them will be older, but you got a lot of the young guys who really should grow into their shoes, like your Tillmans. Anthony Robinson, I hope, is still doing well. I know he's kind of on the younger side. You got good young talent like Caven Sullivan, right, who's still only like 16. He's moving to Man City when he's 18. So by the next tournament, he'll be 20 years old and hopefully having 2 years of European footballing under your belt. So who really knows? But right, that's all we have here today in this somber rant that we gave. Jack, I just want to thank you for coming on so much during the World Cup and giving your 2 cents and helping out. It was sure a fun time while it lasted.
It sure was. Yeah.
Right. That's all we have for the 2026 World Cup. It's an absolute shame it ended on, the last episode being July 8th, and we took a day off just because I think I needed to cool off from whatever unfolded. But yeah, tough way to end it. But again, we appreciate you guys listening. Jack, again, thank you for helping out as much as you did.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
And yeah, I guess we'll see people back here. I guess BC football and the Patriots are up next. So we will see you when we see you. But thank you all.